We have more news for the portal and some coaching gossip. And, well, the portal news doesn't get any better. It just gets worse. Of course, we haven't started signing anybody from the portal yet. That is still to come. But any way you look at it, it's not good. And I will get to everything as soon as I go through this real quickly. This is WVU Football Going Deep. I am Forrest Poston. Please subscribe, please share, make comments, click the thumbs up button, click the notification bell, and tell your friends. Okay. Well, we no longer have starting wide receivers from last year. Traylon Ray is entering the portal. So that's Ray and Clement gone. And, of course, Day Farmer gone, so we've lost 3 receivers. And of course, the way things are going, I can't say things are done. I have to assume there will be more. They're coming in 1s and 2s. After the last video, Jaheim Joseph announced that he will be entering the portal for his final year. Now, of course, it would have been nice to have him back. He was kind of up and down. Ordinarily, it would have been a second year in the system. We're going to be changing systems. So that's that. Now, the thing is, when you start looking at the starters into the portal, plus those who were graduating, there are problems. There are problems. I mean, we were losing a lot on both lines, but we had a core of, now there's talent. The 2s and 3s have talent. But we're going to be lacking experience. Boy, now are we going to be lacking experience. I mean, Ray and Clement, we're talking about 2 guys who started playing before they were ready. They were young. They were working into this. They got better this year. They were going to be better next year. Next year would be breakout kind of seasons, and this season was good. Now, Garrett Green had trouble with his deep ball up until the bowl game. And these receivers would have had even bigger seasons if Green's deep ball had held up, during the transition. And I expect we're probably going to have people saying Ray wasn't that good anyway. Every player who's entered the portal, you've got fans out there. And, yeah. Occurs to me, fans is a 4-letter word. But fans keep saying, oh, they weren't that good, they were soft, blah, 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 blah. And they're sitting in their recliner or their couch, whatever, bad-mouthing guys doing stuff they can't do. And you're not going to tell me Frazier was soft, didn't train enough. Milam, soft. Now, he just happened to be a consensus All-American. Yeah. And these are the guys who have helped set the standard. The standard other players worked to meet or exceed. So, unless the starting center for the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't work hard enough and was soft, then the team wasn't soft. These guys worked. So don't start that crap. And don't start it on, you start that crap on my channel, I would just ask you to find the door. Hit the portal, dude. I'm not going to put up with that kind of nonsensical trash talk. You don't have to agree with me. But I will not put up with just venom for the sake of it, or hate for the sake of it. And that's what this is. And then it goes on other programs. Yeah, I mean, some of these same people, they make fun of other programs that, if somebody comes to West Virginia in the portal, the fans on the other team start saying they weren't any good anyway. I mean, it's a human thing. We tend to do this kind of nonsense, but we don't have to. Anyway, I'm sorry about the rant. So back to the player situation. What this means on defense, if Eddie Vesturinen takes a medical red shirt and returns to West Virginia, he will be the only returning starter. One possible returning starter. And that includes, some of these positions we had two different guys who started during the year due to injuries. We will have one or zero returning starters on defense. Now, I know some of you are saying, well, that's no big deal. The defense wasn't that good. But a lot of good players. I think the problem on defense was scheme and possibly, I don't know. Let's just settle, I think it was scheme. There was something wrong at that basic level. Now, offense, well, we were going to lose all the offensive line except Remack. Now he's hitting the portal, so entire offensive starting line gone. Milam's probable replacement gone. So you could almost say we're down to our third string left tackle. I can't recall who that is. Like I say, there's plenty of talent there, but no experience. Whoever, if it's a current player, they're not going to have experience. The most experienced offensive lineman from the current group for next year would be Livingston, I do believe. But lost both starting wide receivers, lost one starting running back, and two, a starting lineman and a lineman who would have become a starting lineman. And that means on offense, let me see here, potential starting offensive players, Gallagher and White. If you want to call Davis at tight end a starter, when we were using two tight ends or just going for a blocking tight end, I wouldn't consider him a starter. So at the moment between the portal and graduation, we are looking at a maximum of 3 returning starting players. That's going to get interesting. That's going to get interesting. Now, keep in mind, everybody, and this is not unexpected necessarily. We weren't sure, it could have gone multiple ways. We've got, it's not just a coaching change. It is a complete change of psychology. And Donaldson, Ray, Clement, they have good reasons. I wouldn't say any of these guys are leaving for money. I don't know what all the reasons are, but I don't think it's money. They didn't even hang around long enough to see what the money would be at West Virginia. And West Virginia expects, according to Ren Baker, to be at the limit or close to for revenue sharing. So there would be money at West Virginia next year. I don't think that matters to these guys that much. It's not their primary motivation. But Clement and Ray, Rodriguez does not pass that much. I think the minimum, it's like 60% running plays is his low end. We're usually looking at 65% or higher. And 65% was about the highest that it got under Coach Brown. And 55% possible. And Brown actually, I think, wanted to pass more, but I mean, the running game was where most of the experience and talent were at the time, particularly with Green as part of the running game. So receivers will get fewer opportunities under Rodriguez. That's the way the numbers work out. They might get 30 catches a season, maybe 35, but it's not going to go really higher than that. So looking at that as sort of their top end instead of a bottom end, they had good reason to expect more than that under other circumstances and on other teams. If these guys go to passing teams, they could be looking at 50, 60 catches, a lot more targets. And Donaldson, under the Rodriguez system, would become a blocking back or an H-back, but blocking. He'd be lucky to get 5 carries a game. So good reason for him to go elsewhere for playing time. Now, Trotter and Lathan, I don't know their reasons. Joseph, I don't know the reason. But they have, I mean, there are reasons. And it's not just that they don't want to work hard. That's nonsense. Especially a guy like Trotter coming out of, the great football tradition that he does. But one other thing, and it's becoming more important, is in the Talkline video or interview, Rodriguez said that he would like to keep guys, but he's not going to beg them. There's a whole lot in between there. What does he consider begging? What does he consider to be a strong effort to keep them? Did he or has he made an attempt to keep players? What has he talked over with them to keep players? And he basically said that if somebody leaves, we will just go out and replace them. And there, again, that's the difference in attitude. Once Coach Brown established his culture and made a decision to keep a player, the last 2 years, he rarely lost anybody he wanted to keep. Last year in particular. And a lot of those players had offers, even though they weren't in the portal. Rodriguez just looks at them as interchangeable. I know it's one way of looking at things. It's easy, some people may think you have to look at it this way in the modern time, but it bothers me. I don't like looking at people as things. And of course, you don't, whether you trade up or trade down is still going to be a question. And quite often, first year, a transfer player has to adapt. So we'll see how this plays out. And I've said in multiple videos, there's a complete psychological difference in not just in coaching, but entire personalities, philosophy of coaching, philosophy of life, philosophy of everything. Coach Brown and his staff, and Coach Rodriguez and the staff that he will pick, are opposites. Not quite as extreme as the difference between Holgorsen and Brown. There is a little bit of overlap, although I think even the things where they are similar, They are still different. So we're not looking at as radical a difference. So they, and I think we're going from, with Holgerson, we went from a simpler system to a more complicated system. This time we're going from a more complicated system to a simpler system. That may help. But it is a radical difference. Players just won't feel right in this program, and they go someplace else. And that's and Rodriguez has to bring in players who fit not just his system but his psychology. Now he's not doing that with intent. He doesn't think this is my psychology. I need a player with it. Neither did Coach Brown, really. But instinctively, that's what we do. Just as we pick friends who are psychologically similar to us most of the time. So we're going to be in a transition this year, next year. After that, things should start to settle. How tough it's going to be. I mean, we may still win 10 games this year because the players are good. We may not. I don't know if I am going to predict next season at any point. It's just it's worse than trying to predict the weather right now. Now, I did say coaches, and I know I've been rattling and rambling. There is rumor, I think a strong rumor, that 2 of the position coaches from Jacksonville State will be coming to West Virginia. One who did wide receivers, one the wide receiver tight ends. And of course, we've lost 2 wide receivers since it was announced Belial Marshall, or since the decision was made that Belial Marshall's not coming back. That may play into it. Blaine Stewart was coaching tight ends. So we now have 2 coaches at the same spot. One of them will be, or both of them, but at least one of them will be in a different spot. So just what Blaine Stewart will be doing remains to be seen. No word on coordinators. Lots of guesses. Some of the things, Rodriguez had said defensive coordinator would be his first hire. It is possible that he has worked things out in theory with somebody to be the defensive coordinator, but if they are currently coaching at a team going to a later bowl or in the playoffs, that won't be announced for a bit. Now, if you got a team who goes late into the playoffs, even with a coordinator, you don't want to be waiting till late January to get them here. So, not sure how that's going to play out. I'm wondering if it is less and less likely that Trickett will come to be the offensive line coach. Would have thought, because it was up to Trickett whether he wanted to come or not. I mentioned, he may just, at this time, he may not want to make another move. He may not want to come back to West Virginia Winters. But I would have thought if he were coming, he would have said so, and it would have leaked. But haven't heard anything, so I suspect that the offensive line coach, will be somebody other than Trickett. I'm not going to get into the guesses about who. All right, I'd better get off here because you're tired of listening. And I do have some other things I should have been doing. And I do need to check to see if anybody has hit the portal while I filmed the video. Oh, man, it is going to be an interesting, well, at least